Incidentally, in 53:11, it'll say, it says, by his knowledge, my servant will vindicate the just for many. It by his knowledge, if it's talking about Jesus, it's not by his knowledge, but by his blood, by his death, by his resurrection, not by his knowledge.
Out of the many arguments I've seen from Tobias Singer, I must say this is probably one of his most compelling arguments, saying his blood rather than his knowledge saves us. However, this argument was actually negated over a century ago by people such as Charles Ellicott, where he writes, by his knowledge, the phrase admits of two meanings, objective and subjective. By their knowledge of him, or by his own knowledge, and each expresses a truth. Men are saved by knowing Christ, to know him in the Father's eternal life. On the other hand, the Christ himself makes the knowledge of the Father the ground of his power to impart that knowledge to men, and to justify and save them. Without that knowledge, he could not have led them to know God as he knew. If we dare not to say that the prophet distinctly contemplated both meanings, we may rejoice that he was guided to use a phrase which includes both. John Gill also writes, by his knowledge shall my righteous servant justify many. Christ is a servant of the Lord. This shows that there are not a few which serve to magnify the grace of God, exalt the sanctification and righteousness of Christ, and encourage distressed sinners to look at them for justification of life. And yet they are not all men, for all men have not faith, nor are they saved, though all Christ's spiritual seed or offspring shall be justified, and shall glorify. And this is by or through his knowledge, the knowledge of him, of Christ, which is no other than faith in him, by which a man sees and knows him and believes in him, as the Lord his righteousness, and this agrees with the New Testament doctrine of justification by faith. It is no other than the manifestation, knowledge, sense, and perception of it by faith. In a book by Cambridge University called the Cambridge Bible for Schools and Colleges, they conclude, by his knowledge, the genitive, is not that of the object, by the knowledge of him, but of the subject, the knowledge of God and salvation which he possesses, and which he communicates to others.